Let's go back to the situation in Ukraine. West continues to remain wary as Russia and Belarus have announced an extension of drills on Sunday. United States says the troops amassing is not a bluff and wants Russia can invade in short order. U.S. company Maxar released satellite images of new field deployment of artillery and troops in Russia near Ukraine border. The images show Russian troops in forests, farms and industrial areas. The buildup is as close as 15 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. Maxar, in a release, says that the new troop activity is a departure from previous deployment patterns. West has been warning of an imminent invasion by Moscow, estimating more than 150,000 Russian troops have reached the Ukrainian border. Stuart Smith is now joining us live from Moscow to talk more about the latest developments at the Russia-Ukraine border. Stuart, great to see you and welcome to this broadcast. How is Russia taking the threats of sanctions by both the US and the European Commission, despite maintaining their stance of not having plans to invade Ukraine?
Well, Russia says that unilateral sanctions not decided at the United Nations Security Council or United Nations General Assembly, are not valid. They should not be used, and Russia has reiterated this point many times over the last few months with the threat of sanctions looming. Also, the Kremlin denies that they will have any meaningful effect on the Russian economy, especially, the Kremlin says, because finances of the most senior members of parliament, the most senior political figures inside Russia's security groups like the FSB should not have any assets stored abroad anyway. And so also on top of that, since 2014, Russia has come under a number of sanctions for various movements on the world stage, such as the annexation of Crimea. And so by this point, Russia is used to sanctions and used to working around them. Having said that, it is another instance of the West bumping up and raising the costs for Russia should it choose to invade, with the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson saying it would be difficult for Russia to make use of the British sterling currency or US dollars, and also unverified reports that the United States would not be would prevent American banks from dealing large transactions with Russian banks, an increase on top of all the other sanctions already promised.
Stuart, is the Kremlin likely to compromise, given that Elysee now says that the second Biden-Putin meeting can only be held on the condition Russia does not invade Ukraine?
It's quite possible. There is still a lot going on that we do not know. For instance, NATO and the West still does not know President Putin's intentions here. We do not know, as annoying as frustrating it is, we do not know what Vladimir Putin does intend. And so while we see, indeed, an increase in troop buildup, it seems that that withdrawal did not indeed take place, that troops and equipment are still very close to the Ukraine border. At the same time, we have not just a major development in the military sphere, but a major development diplomatically, with the French President Emmanuel Macron speaking to German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, the US President Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin twice over the weekend. All of that culminating, it seems, in the potential for a meeting between US President and Russian President Vladimir Putin with the help of the French here. And so in that sense, with this also this add-on that if this invasion goes ahead, this meeting will be off, it's buying more time for the West. It's likely, I would think, that President Putin would accept this. He's somebody that has previously always been keen to speak with the US President directly, and we already know there have been extra diplomacy planned this week on Thursday, with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov meeting with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. That's on Thursday 24th. Those two foreign ministers will meet, discuss what the agenda will be for this meeting between presidents. But it does seem like a positive step, and it could just hold off an invasion. The latest from Ukraine on the probability of an invasion is that it won't happen in the next few days. Ukraine says it doesn't yet see the necessary battle group formations for that to take place, but the US still saying that it could take place in the next few days.
Finally, Stuart, analysts and even critics argue that the shelling in Donetsk is a sign of an even bigger threat to come. Ukraine's president has called for a ceasefire, yet troop deployments and drills are still ongoing in Russia and Belarus. Should the latest developments in Donetsk be a cause of concern?
They are very concerning, both for Ukraine and Russia, who have expressed as much. The latest from the front line there, this dividing line between eastern Ukraine and the rest of the country, where these pro-separatists, pro-Russian separatists have been fighting. The latest, according to the separatists, is that 2 people have been killed. Now that's a first since escalation, since the fighting escalated there on Thursday last week. Now this is another piece of evidence that the eastern separatists could point to justify some kind of help from Russia. This excuse that the West believes these separatists are looking for to invite a Russian invasion. And looking ahead, tomorrow on Tuesday, the Federation Council has been recalled from recess. That's the Russian Senate, in effect, the upper house. They do not know yet what they will be discussing or what they will be voting on. That could be related to, for example, action required in Ukraine.
Live from Moscow, Stuart Smith, thank you very much for your insights and for talking to us today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.